Hey babes, and welcome back to my channel. It is me, your girl, Melissa Renee. Today we're just going to sit and chat. I'm going to share with you some of my testimony and how God has brought me through different situations. So if this is something that you are interested in, girl, go get you a snack, something to drink, and let's get into this video. All right, my testimony. I'm not quite sure where to begin. I think I'll just start when I was a teen. I don't remember most or much of my childhood, like elementary school. I don't remember most of that. So let's get into it. Okay. Oh man, this is hard. I haven't did like a testimony video period. I know on one of my channels, I have several different YouTube channels. So on one of my channels, I did talk about how God brought me through suicide and depression. So I'm going to touch on that as well in this video. But let's just get into it. So I guess the most important part of my story, or where I believe that things began to change in my life, is when my mom passed away. Um, my mom passed away on July 15th of 2003 when I was 15 years old. And it was the most devastating thing that I've ever gone through in my life. It was very hard. And I was not allowed the time to grieve her properly. And because of that, I didn't go to therapy. I shut down. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to handle those kind of feelings. I've never lost anyone close to me like that. I lost my great grandmother a few years prior to that, but not a parent. So it was one of the hardest things that I've been through. And because of that, a lot of things in life happened that I don't believe would have happened had she not passed away. And so I remember this like it was yesterday. We was at my grandmother's house. My mom was basically in a coma, and my other two sisters were downstairs in a room, and I was upstairs in a room by myself. And I slept so great that night. I went to sleep. I was like, Lord, I know my mom was gonna be okay. I know that you're not gonna take her from me, and I just went to sleep believing that everything was going to be okay, that we were going to get up, we were going to go to the hospital in the morning, we were going to see her, and she was going to be woke, and everything was going to be okay. And the next morning, we were getting up, we were getting ready to go to the hospital. I believe it was around 7-ish in the morning, and my uncle and my aunt came to the door, and me and my sister, me and my older sister, were standing upstairs, looking down, and my other sister was downstairs. And all we saw was my grandma go to the front door, open it, and she literally just fell backwards. And at that point, we knew that she was gone. And it was devastating. It was very hard. So yeah, okay, so that's where a lot of things started. That's where a lot of feelings that I didn't feel before, I started to feel. I did not feel wanted. I felt abandoned. I felt, of course, sadness, depression. I think that's where my battle with depression came from, obviously. Just a lot of things that I didn't know how to handle. And by not really being in therapy, I wish they would have put me in therapy. I wish somebody would have put me in therapy. Even though I said I didn't want to go, I wish somebody would have just put me there anyways, just because that's what I needed. I needed someone to talk to. I needed an outlet, and I did not have that. I was literally thrown back into school, punished for not getting um, good grades. I mean, you have to. I don't think they realize that this is my mother. This is not just anyone. This is my mother. My entire life changed after that. Like I had to move out of my home. A new school. Everything about life changed after that, and I don't think people really realize the change that I had to go through as a 15-year-old. You know, my mom never. I don't know why I'm getting emotional, man. I talked about this a lot, but she didn't get to see me go to prom. She didn't. She wasn't at my high school graduation, my college graduation, at the birth of my daughter. A lot of milestones that your mother is supposed to be at. She was not there, and yeah, I literally, like I said, I shut down. I blocked the world out. I didn't want to deal. I was always angry. I was, going off. A lot of it was needed. A lot of my going off was needed. Um, we were lied to. Again, it wasn't just me. It was me and my two older sisters. We were lied to. Um, I felt like there was a dollar sign over my head, and that's all people saw. No one saw me. No one saw the teenager hurting. No one saw the anger. No one saw the depression. No one saw the suicide. Like, I was really struggling. I was really going through it, and it was just like no one saw that. And I didn't believe that God saw it. I didn't believe that God cared about me. Like, why would you take my mother away? Why would you do that? I literally went to sleep that night thinking that you were going to save her, thinking that, you were going to revive whatever it was that was going on in her body. And you didn't. And I think that's where my disconnection from God began. It's because it's like, I grew up in a church. And, so I knew who God was. At the time, I thought I had a relationship with God. Um, but at that point, it was just like, God, who? Like, you took the most important person away from me. It's how I felt. Um, so yeah, so by the time I was, I wouldn't say I was sheltered because my dad did allow me to hang out with friends and to, do things or whatever. So I wouldn't say I was sheltered, but when I got, you know, uh, graduated high school and I went away um, to college, I, I got pregnant, and since this is a testimony, let's go deep. Um, Prior to me finding out that I was pregnant with my daughter, I had a miscarriage. Okay, so again, when my mom passed, I felt unloved. I felt all these feelings, and so um, when I found out that I was having a miscarriage, I was sad. At first, when I found out I was pregnant, I was devastated. Like was just crying, and then I realized, like, hey, I got this person that is going to absolutely love me, and I'll have somebody to love me always. And so I got excited, and then I lost it, and it was just like, geez. And I didn't really realize that a miscarriage is a loss. Like, I literally lost my baby, and so I made the decision, not a wise decision, but I did make the decision to get pregnant on purpose to have my daughter because I wanted to feel loved. I didn't feel like people around me loved me. Again, that void of my mother. So I decided and I had my daughter on purpose. And that is why Marissa is here today. And I love her. It wasn't the best decision at that time in my life, but Marissa has literally saved my life in real life. She is a true blessing. And I say that she saved my life because prior to me getting pregnant, I wanted to commit suicide. I wanted to commit suicide. I went to school in Flint. I went to the University of Michigan, Flint, and I took the back way. So if you know, you know, but I took Dixie. You could take Dixie Highway all the way to 75, and there's a lot of like twists and turns and a lot of cliffs and all of this, and I literally just want to drive my car off of a cliff. I literally wanted to drive my car off a cliff and just kill myself because Why live when I didn't feel as though anyone cared about me? I didn't think that anyone would care if I died. So yeah. But once I made the decision to have Marissa, I killed myself for what? I need to be here for my daughter. I wouldn't want her to go through what I've been through. So suicide literally left my mind at that point. So yeah. And then I would say I didn't have my first real drink. I didn't get drunk until I was I 21? Maybe I was 20. And I drank a whole fifth by myself. I drank a whole fifth by myself, and that started my little drinking habit. I would not say that I was an alcoholic. I would say that I was a party girl because I was never like addicted to alcohol where like I have to have it or I need it. But yeah, it got to the point, I want to say 2010, where me and my sisters, a couple of them, we were getting drunk every night. Every night there was, besides one night, now I cannot remember what night that was, but 7 days out of the week, one day out of that week, no clubs were open, no bars, no nothing in our area were open. So the other 6 days, we were at somebody's club or at somebody's bar, getting drunk, having fun, dancing, whatever. And we had a ball. We put ourselves in some very, very stupid situations. God literally protected us. But we put ourselves in some really dangerous situations. But God. Okay? But at this time, again, I'm not thinking about God. I'm still going to church. But even at church, we were going downstairs in the basement. Who's paying for who to get in the club? Who's buying the liquor? How much money you got on the liquor? This is what we're doing at church. So, because later on, when we get out of church, we're going to go eat, and then we're going to go get dressed and go to the club. Okay, so again, we're going to church, but we're of the world. Where's the liquor, honey? Where are the men? Because that's what we want, okay? Like, we're just gonna be real transparent on this video because this is my story. This is where I've come from. This is what God has literally brought me through. And so we were getting drunk, we were partying, yeah, sex was involved, and I was just living this life, and I just felt so empty. I felt like this is not who I am, but at the same time, I don't even know who I am. I have no idea what God has called me to. I'm not even sure if I care about God. Like, what? Like, what? Because I have two older sisters, and one dances and one sings. So when we would go to church and people would come and prophesy or whatever, they'd be like, you're going to be a great singer and you're going to dance for the nations. And it's just like, and God bless you. And I'm just like, so I have nothing. God doesn't want to use me for anything. I'm not worthy of being used. So it's like, okay, God, you already took my mama and now you don't have nothing for me? Like, you're not going to use me at all? So I was just in a state of confusion. I was still dealing with depression. I was having a hard time. And again, I did not feel like anyone was there for me. Any woman that came into my life, older women that came into my life, it felt like they were just there for a moment and then they left. Like, so I never really trusted people, or I never tried to get close to people because they would always leave. They would always leave. My great aunt passed, my grandmother passed. So you have all of these women who I'm close to, who I love dearly, are all snatched away from me. So any other woman that came close and they left, it was just like, well, why were you here in the first place? If you were just going to leave me, why come into my life? And so I started looking for love in men in the wrong place. And I got my heart broken over and over again. I don't even want to say I got my heart broken. I was hurt by these men over and over again. And Yeah, it was just like a life just seemed like it just would not get better. It seemed like I was always struggling. It seemed like something was always missing. It seemed like I just could not get it right. And so drinking helped hide those true feelings, those suppressed feelings. Drinking helped it, you know, because a lot of times when I would get drunk, I'll post some pictures on the screen. These are just mostly pictures of me getting ready for the club. Um, Thank God, back when I was clubbing, we had cell phones and pictures and stuff, but it was never like it is now. We weren't taking videos of us getting drunk. We wasn't doing all of that. So I don't have many pictures, but I do have pictures of me getting ready to go out to the club. So again, post those. Um, but um, it helps, you know, suppress those feelings. And I can remember times where I would get drunk and I would literally just yell and scream about and cry about my mom, because that's why I was getting drunk, because I was hurt. Like, I don't care what nobody say. Nobody drinks for fun. You just don't. Alcohol is nasty. It's poison to our bodies. It's not good for us. You don't just drink for fun. You drink because you're hurt. You drink because of issues that have been suppressed. That's why you drink. That's why we go out and we have sex with different people. That's why people do drugs. It's because they don't know how to handle the emotions that they feel. They suppress everything and they don't know how to handle them. But God. But God. So I can say that I began to I stopped drinking. That's why I say it wasn't addictive, because it wasn't hard for me to stop drinking. It was just like, okay, I don't want to drink no more. So I stopped. And I developed a want to be better, a want for God. And so I went through deliverance and got a lot of things broken off of my life. And I wanted God. Growing up, we were taught about God, but we wasn't taught about God. Okay, a lot of the things that we learned growing up is not real, basically. So I literally had to go through and find God myself, seek God myself, and repent for all the things that I did, all the things that I did to myself, all of the pushing God away, rejecting him. Because in the midst of all of this, God still loved me. I don't know why my mom died. I don't know why her time ended. I don't know. I don't know. God has never said, hey, this is why I did this. This is why she had to leave. I don't know. And I've asked, and I've asked, and I've asked, and I've got to the point where it's just like, you know what? God, you know what's best for me. Yeah, that was a hard time for me, but you brought me through it. So, and I believe in 2018 is where I spoke for the first time at church. So I left my old church and I began to go to my father's church. And he was like, well, I want you to preach. Like, well, he called it a inspirational message. And I'm like, no, no. I did do like the drama club or whatever at my previous church. But it was never something that God was like, hey, I want you to begin to preach my word, because I do remember this in middle school and well, this is middle school. I've always struggled in reading. Reading was never my strong suit in school. And so I would get talked about pretty badly, and I would just go home and cry. And so, like, reading out loud, like, it doesn't matter if I know all the words. It doesn't matter at all. I'm going to stumble. I'm going to forget, and I'm going to say the wrong word sometimes, because I just get so nervous about reading out loud. And so I'm like, I can't preach. Like, this can't be what you have for me, Lord, because I struggle in reading. And then you got to be careful about what you pray for. Because I was like, Lord, I don't want to speak ever. I don't ever want to speak. And God's like, you don't? Okay, so I'll make you then. That's how I look at it. So, um, yeah. So, and I think that's when I really started to develop my relationship with God. Is in 2018. It's only 2025. So that's when I wanted God for myself. I was no longer just being a churchgoer. I was no longer just going to conferences for prophetic words. I was no longer just doing it because that's what I was supposed to do, because my father's a pastor, because I grew up in the church. It was, no, like, I developed a real desire for the Lord. And looking back at my life and all the things that he has brought me through, like, he brought me through so many different situations that could have turned out horribly. Like, he literally watched over me. He literally protected me. I can't tell you how many times I have fallen asleep behind the wheel. Like, God literally protected me from everything that literally could have destroyed my life. Why not serve him? Why not serve him? Why not give him my life when he has brought me through, always provided for me, always been there for me? I have been a single mother my daughter's entire life. I have been her only parent her entire life. And she's never wanted for anything. She's never went without anything. But God, why not serve him? So when my father came to me, he was like, I want you to do an inspirational message or whatever. I was like, you know what? I don't know about that. But I did it. And again, that's when I developed my real want for God, my real desire to want to be close to him. And I began to spend time in my word. I began to pray more. I began to just do things that wasn't normal for me, because I was literally the churchgoer. I was the one that went to church every Sunday, on time for church, at every event at church. My daughter involved in dance and all of this and all of that, because that's what I knew. But what I didn't know is how to build a real relationship with God. And so as I began to do that, God began to reveal different things to me, and I have been preaching his word ever since. And yeah, he has literally brought me through depression. I struggled with depression for many, many years. After the death of my mother, I believe that's when it really began. And even in 2020, I remember finding myself, and I remember being in my bed for days at a time during a pandemic. And I don't even think it had anything to do with the pandemic, because, girl, I was off of work. That was a blessing. Okay, that was a blessing in disguise. But even then, depression was heavy. And I did not know. And I'm like, I'm not getting on medication, because you know why? Because depression is of the enemy. Depression is of the enemy. This is a spirit. This is the enemy at work, and I'm not going to give in. I'm going to get deliverance. I'm going to give this to Christ, and I'm going to be healed and delivered from this thing. I'm not going to allow this thing to take my life. I'm not going to allow this thing to put me on medication that I don't need to be on. So God delivered me from suicide. He delivered me from depression. He delivered me from abandonment. He delivered me from being feeling unloved. He delivered me from everything that I struggled with throughout my life. God has literally shown me that throughout everything that I have been through, that he loves me. And what year was this? I believe it was 2019, 2018, 2019. I really started to share about Christ on my social media. I would make Snapchat videos and, post it on all of my social media of me just talking about different Bible stories and about God. And in 2021 is when I began this channel. Well, 2022 is when I began Slay and Pray. Well, now Melissa Renee. And is when I started doing Slay and Pray with Melissa Renee, and I would make and I made videos talking about God, doing my makeup. Don't worry, because season 3 is coming, babe. And throughout my life, God has really just shown me who He is. He's shown me that He is a protector, that He is a healer, and He literally saved my life from so many different things. And because of that is why I am where I am today. I am literally a God-fearing woman. I owe my life to God. For God I live and for God I die. Like, that's just it. We can find everything that we are seeking, everything that we are looking for, every void that we are trying to fill. We can find all of that in Christ. Trust me, He loves you. He's there for you. And yeah, so this was not all, but a big chunk of my testimony and what God has done for me and what God is doing for me. I cannot wait to see all that He has in store for me in the coming days, in the coming years. I'm excited. I am so grateful and thankful to Christ that He brought me through all that I've been through, that He was always there, loving me when I didn't want Him to love me, when I didn't want Him around. He was always there, and I am just so grateful and thankful for that. So I hope that by me sharing my testimony will help you to share your testimony, right? Because the Bible tells us that we overcome the devil by the words of our testimony. Okay, so it's not a shameful thing to talk about the things that you have been through and how God has brought you out. It's a beautiful thing. It helps us to see that, we are real people, that God does deliver us from the things that we have gone through. Like, He will restore us. He will deliver us. He will love us through all the things that we have been through. He's there for us. He loves us. So if you have been wanting to share your testimony, let it out. We are here. We want to hear it. We want to see what God has done through you, through your life, and how you can be a blessing to someone else. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was a blessing to those it needed to bless. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, babes.